So let's just take that very first line then. Credulity is not a virtue. What does credulity actually mean? Well, I guess the easiest explanation is that it's a willingness to believe in something or someone without any reasonable proof. But credulity, or being credulous, does not simply mean you believe in something that is false. You can believe in something that's absolutely true or correct, but a credulous person will believe it without having any good evidence, or still believe in the thing once the evidence has changed. So for a simple example, let's say I had always believed that the Earth was a spherical shape. If I was just to accept that, even though it is true, just accepting this as a fact without looking for empirical evidence makes me just as credulous as accepting that a Palestinian carpenter once fell out of a virgin's uterus and then spent a few years wandering around the desert until he was eventually put up a flagpole while everybody around him sang "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life." One of these statements is absolute fact and well and truly proven using the scientific method. The other, well, maybe not so much. But this does not mean you should not believe anything at all, or you'll just become incredulous. So the antonym of credulity is not incredulity, rather it's skepticism. But what does that actually mean? Well, if we can quote Stephen Novella, he says, "A skeptic is one who prefers beliefs and conclusions that are reliable and valid to ones that are comforting or convenient, and therefore rigorously and openly applies the methods of science and reason to all empirical claims, especially their own. A skeptic provisionally proportions acceptance of any claim to valid logic and a fair and thorough assessment of available evidence, and studies the pitfalls of human reason and the mechanisms of deception so as to avoid being deceived by others or themselves." And he concludes with, "Skepticism values methods over any particular conclusion." Okay, so there's a lot there, and I had to go back a few times and reread that when I first saw it myself. So if you have to play this part back over a few times, do so. But what Novella is saying there, or the way I've interpreted it, is that you can't just go to the easy answer, or the answer that you're looking for, or the answer that makes you feel the best. You have to apply logic and an assessment. More importantly, you need to be aware of the fallibility of the human mind or the human brain, as we are all so very easily deceived. But don't confuse skepticism with cynicism. In naming their organisation, the Skeptic Society said that some people believe that skepticism is the rejection of new ideas, or worse, they confuse skeptic with cynic, and they think that skeptics are a bunch of grumpy curmudgeons unwilling to accept any claim that challenges the status quo. This is wrong. Skepticism is a provisional approach to claims. They say that it is the application of reason to any and all ideas. No sacred cows are allowed. In other words, skepticism is a method, not a position. Ideally, skeptics do not go into an investigation closed to the possibility that a phenomenon might be real or that the claim might be true. When we say we are skeptical, we mean we must see compelling evidence before we believe. And the most important lesson in all of this is as the empirical evidence changes, you have to change your position to match the evidence. Remember, there are no sacred cows allowed. Skepticism is a method, not a position. And most importantly, credulity is not a virtue.